the cherry orchard people getting sued by the Canadian government. And what the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like such a strange thing. I mean, we have some of the greatest cherries in the world are in Washington State. But what was it, a Rainier cherry, or was it a Bing type
No,
cherry, or
no.
what was the story there?
Boy. So this is another case where we've got two people claiming to invent the same thing. And this case is extra weird because it deals with a plant patent. And I can count on one hand the number of plant patent attorneys that I've ever met or heard of, just because there's just frankly not a lot of work there. And that takes a lot of schooling to get under your belt too. But anyway, I digress. So I got brought into the case a little bit later because one of my very good colleagues, Mark Walters, which I will happily plug that guy's name because he's an amazing attorney. Mark Walters brought me in on this case, and we were representing co-defendants. So both of us were getting sued by the Canadian government for infringing upon the Canadian government's cherry patent. And basically, when you get a patent on a plant, you get a patent on literally like the genetic makeup of it, and it has to be like asexually propagated and all that. So like you submit like the genetic data for it as part of the process. So my client was a farmer, and my colleague's client was the nursery slash orchard, basically. Not orchard, just the nursery, reseller. So we're both getting sued by the Canucks, and my client, the farmer, he also had a patent on his cherry, and he had zero interest in suing anybody. The guy was a farmer, and he was a minister in his community, and like very much a pacifist, right? And so
But those
he,
evil Canadians.
you know, they got to get their money. So the reason why, and so which is interesting about this case. Well, one of the interesting wrinkles in this case is the Canadians had like a research agreement with an American company, and so there's that whole element to it. But basically, we had to argue that my client invented what the Canadians say they invented first, by virtue of, here's our genetic data, and we had to do genetic testing on these cherries. And then you get into the weeds on like, all right, what's the margin of error on doing the statistical analysis on this genetic testing? And the reason why the Canadians were all up in a huff about this, money, but specifically, both of these cherry varietals were late blooming. And so if you can basically get a late blooming anything, that means that you could put that on the shelves when nobody else is on the shelf,
Mm-hmm.
in your supermarket. So he developed this cherry just the good old fashioned way, just lots of breeding and testing and breeding and testing, and then all of a sudden he's just like, boom, there's this awesome cherry that's blooming late in the season that could stand up to colder temperatures and blah blah blah. So yeah, so we fought it out,